Good Sunday morning, folks. I hope that this Sunday morning, or whenever you're watching this, finds you in beautiful spirits. I am Father Omar, St. Alban's priest in charge at St. Alban's Episcopal Church in beautiful St. Pete Beach, Florida. Now, today we're going to do a little bit something different than I usually do when I preach on Sunday. It's going to be very shortened, but it's going to be very concentrated. We're going to talk about two things because we're going to cover two scriptures. We're going to cover Ezekiel 34, Matthew 25. We're going to talk about personal responsibility. That's Ezekiel 34. And then we are going to dive into public responsibility. That's Matthew 25. Both of those scriptures together are going to teach us that what you do is more important than what you say. Let's dive into it right now. First of all, Ezekiel 34. For those of you who are not familiar with it, Ezekiel takes place in the time during the Babylonian exile. This particular book, Ezekiel, was written 10 years after Daniel and his friends were put into exile. Remember, the Babylonians only took the cream of the crop from Israel to bring back to Babylon. Excuse me one second. They only took the cream of the crop to take back to Babylon. And here God is finding his people not really worshiping him, not really getting into him the way he wants to. So in Ezekiel 34, he talks about being a shepherd, that he will gather these people together and he will feed them. In fact, chapter 34, verse 13. I will bring them out from my people and gather them from the countries and bring them to my own land. Verse 14, I will feed them with good pasture, and the mountain heights of Israel shall be their pasture. Verse 15, this is very important. I myself will be the shepherd of my sheep. I will make them lie down, says the Lord God. That is personal responsibility. How many times have we been at a job where we wish people would do their job, would take personal responsibility? This is what God is asking us during this time, that we not wait for someone else to do something, someone else to talk about God, someone else to do the right thing. You have to do the right thing. That is part of your responsibility as a Christian, as a person who wants to live up to the ideals of Christ. Now let's go to Matthew. Matthew 25. Most people are very familiar with this. This is the sheep and the goat. In fact, Keith Green wrote a song about this. You should look it up. It's a very poignant song, actually. Now, when people read this, a lot of times they will concentrate on the punishment and not the thing that is actually preceding the punishment. In it, it's Judgment Day. God has gathered all the people on earth, and now he's going to dispense rewards or punishments, as it were. But what I want you to focus in on is why God does what he does. Remember, the first group, he talked about in verse 36, I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you took care of me. I was in prison and you visited me. And then the righteous answered, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and we gave you food, when you were thirsty? And when was it that you were a stranger? When was it that you were sick? And then verse 40, God answers, truly I tell you, just as you did to the very least of these who were members of my family, you did it to me. What does that tell you? You know, in a lot of religions, confession is so very important. What you say, how you say it. The Episcopal Church in the Anglican tradition takes a great deal of time with confession, with prayer, because those things are important. But why are they important? Because of what they lead you to do. Everything you do should lead you to a more righteous life. Here, Jesus paints a picture of final judgment. The King himself is identifying with the hungry, the stranger, the sick, the imprisoned. Here, action and belief are inseparable. I'm going to say that again. Action and belief are inseparable. As James writes, faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. That's James 2:17. And then Paul reminds us in Romans 2:13, it is not the hearer of the law who is righteous in God's sight, but it is the doer of the law who is justified. We understand that true confession is not merely vocal, but lived. It is demonstrated. It is faith working through love. Again, Galatians 5:6. Let me end with this. What kind of faith do you want? What kind of faith do you respond to? When someone says they're praying for you, that's one thing. When somebody says they're praying for you and they follow up, hey, how are things going? Is there anything I can do to help? That is when you know prayer has become action. And this is what God is asking us. First, God is asking us to take personal responsibility. Ezekiel 34. God's people had fallen away from worshiping, and the priests weren't helping. So God himself decided, I am going to take responsibility. I'm going to be your shepherd. I'm going to love you. Then public responsibility. What do you do when you see suffering? What do you do when you see someone who is less than you? What are you willing to do? You see, it's one thing to confess your faith. It's a totally different thing to live your faith. And we need a lot more living and a lot less confession, folks. Let's just be honest. Plenty of people talk about Christianity. Very few people live into their Christianity. So let's embrace this call with earnest. Let our deeds echo our words, and our lives be a testament to the faith we profess as we walk in the footsteps of our Master, our Shepherd. May our actions speak louder than our words, reflecting the love, mercy, and justice of Christ. Remember the words of John, 1 John 3:18. Let us not love with word or talk, but in deed and in truth. Let's live out a true confession that doesn't even need words, that people can see and say, this is a God that loves me. This is a God that cares for me. This is a God that truly wants me as I am, without one plea. Thanks for listening, folks. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Take care. Remember, next week we're going to start Advent. I hope to see you in morning prayer on Monday. That's on Facebook Live. If you go to St. Alban's Episcopal Church website, St. Pete Beach, Florida, we will have links to that. Just go to our Facebook page and you'll see morning prayer. And I'm going to start doing Advent devotionals too. That's going to be on our YouTube page. Again, go to YouTube, type in St. Alban's Episcopal Church, St. Pete Beach, Florida. Real easy to find. Make sure you like and subscribe. Take care. God bless. Have a blessed Sunday morning.